All right, and there's Barbara.
Okay, so Nancy's picking you up.
I'm on video. Hi. Yes, she's picking me up at 4:30.
All right.
Okay. Where'd my clock go? All right, I have 2 o'clock, so I guess we may go ahead and start, and we'll begin with, we'll call this meeting to order. And if you'll unmute yourself and then respond to the roll call. Tim May.
Here. Oops,
Janice
I'm-
Broke. Yeah, Janice Brokaw here. Judy Glenn, we know is absent. Charlene Lux.
Here.
Barbara Hughes.
Here.
Yvette Minor. And I did not hear from Yvette. Mike Neely
Here.
and John Del Oso.
Here.
Okay, let the records indicate then that Judy Glenn and Yvette Minor are not with us today. Okay, do we have any members of the public who wish to address the commission today? All right.
I don't see any members of the public raising their hand, and I didn't receive any written comments for this meeting.
Okay. All right. Do we have Myrna with us today?
Yes, I'm here.
All
Hello.
right. Oh, they're very good. Okay, so I believe we are ready to take a look then at the financial reports for March, which will have everything then up through the end of the 3rd quarter.
Yes.
So Myrna, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair Brokaw. So I'd like to draw your attention to the summary page. And here, just to give you an overview, I know that you focus in on the property tax, the sales tax.
Yes.
But, in terms of the health of the library, I will just review the summary page, and the 2 major revenue sources are includes property tax. And we're on target in terms of meeting our projected revenues for this fiscal year. The April is the 2nd installment of property tax due. And although it's not shown here in this report, I can say that $9.3 million were posted for that April 11th due date, which brings us right on target with our property tax. There will still be, folks that are paying late or any adjustments that are posted in, the last quarter that will be reflected in June. And so any revenues coming in the 4th quarter will be above and beyond our projected revenue. Under sales tax, as you can see, the monthly receipts, and as you know, the sales tax is 2 months behind. And the March receipt is the lowest of all the months posted to date. And that is typical across several years. So I'm still projecting that we will meet our target for this year. Under expenditures, I project that for expenditures will be within budget. However, with the caveat that budget at the 3rd quarter shows that we're underspending. I have spoken and let division managers know that they could be underspending, and to notify me if there were any changes in their budget in terms of exceeding their budget for coming June 30th, 2022, and everyone seems to be within budget. But if there are any underspending in either property tax or sales tax, those that would be considered a budget surplus, and those funds revert to the fund balance. Those are the highlights, and if I'll take any questions if there are any specific questions.
I do have one. I'm noticing that under expenditures, other contract services, and we are already at 91% of the year-to-date budget. Is that unusual? Is it just the way that it is expended?
This is an area that the finance committee has also, I've been working with the finance committee, is that one of the drivers there is our Verizon wireless plan. With our Wi-Fi Sonoma Fi program, and it's been charged under other contract services, and it should be charged under wireless services. So that is one of the drivers for that. And our team has recoded those expenditures that have been posted under other contract services. So come the next month in the April reports, we'll see an adjustment of over $200,000 in that line item.
Okay, so that will get us back more in line with what has been budgeted.
Yes.
What other kinds of things besides our Verizon wireless fit under contract services?
Under other contract services, I think that is the major one. There are other codings that don't particularly affect the sales tax, that are more under benefits that were incorrectly coded, such as retiree health insurance and the retiree health insurance.
Yeah, that should be under salaries and benefits, correct?
Yes. And that would be it. The other item that Randy Sybil has noted, perhaps I know for sure with the commission and the finance committee, but perhaps with Measure Y, is we need to, as our year end closes, we embark on, we've been embarking on already, is that benefits that are related to Measure Y positions have all been charged under property tax. So when we complete that project, there will be an adjustment to benefits under sales tax. And so we'll see a major adjustment there.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Myrna at this point on this page? Seeing none, we can move on. So is there anything on this that is especially important for us to note?
Here, as you can see, the cash balance is pretty consistent under the sales tax. We do get a monthly receipt, so it's pretty consistent. Under property tax, you see ebbs and flows because there are two major receipts in December and in April. So we'll see an increase under property tax again in April for the recording of the April receipt.
And I assume that large balance under Measure Y is because of the previous surpluses that we've, underspending that we've had.
Yes, it accounts for all the cash that's available, including reserves. So that's what the statement of activity reflects, is monies that are set aside and reserved for the stabilization fund, for accounts payable, etc. So this is all the cash that is under the coffers of under Measure Y sales tax.
All right. Any other questions then on this page? There we go. This is the property tax, and these are the details of the property tax to date. Okay. Any questions under property tax?
No.
Okay, can move on to the sales tax. All right. So this is the one that specifically relates to us. So again, as you can see here under benefits, it's a lot of information, but under benefits, you can see that if there's little being charged against sales tax for the positions that are allocated to Measure Y, and that is what we're looking at, and we will have a year-end adjustment, and so you'll see an increase in benefits at year-end. Okay. Also, as you can see here, there is underspending in capital projects in the budget process. The discussions were that there are major projects, like as we have discussed in the past. The Petaluma project will be delayed into next fiscal year, so those funds will not be, although budgeted in the current fiscal year, will not be spent and will be rolled over into fiscal year 2023. So that is the primary driver for underspending, although there are other projects that will be fully completed in next fiscal year. Do we have a reason for why Petaluma is being delayed?
Yes, actually, we need to upgrade the sprinkler system, and that's an ADA requirement. So the city is seeking grant funds to enable that project to go forward. We can't move forward with the renovation until the sprinklers are in place.
Oh, okay.
But we haven't done much else as far as capital projects, right?
We're currently working on the Guerneville refresh. So that should be completed in June.
Any other questions on this detailed sheet?
Okay.
Are we ready to move on to the next?
To
Yes.
gifts and donations. Yeah, and I'm not sure this is one that we would even need to concern ourselves with, since
Right.
these are all restricted funds, and we have, you know, they don't involve sales tax monies, to my knowledge.
No, but this is information that, you know, it's public information, and you can see this is primarily, it's a combination of donations, but primarily from the Friends groups. And there has been, we have beginning cash, do we have interest? So for all revenues, over 94,000 has been received to date. And under expenditures, 37,000 have been spent. And here we ran into a budgeting cap, where, as you can see, under the adjusted budget, we're authorized to spend up to 37,500, and we've spent a little bit over that. And we're in the process of making adjustments so that we can pay some outstanding invoices. And the library has also for a while have not been really reporting closely enough on gifts and donations. So this is a process that we've been discussing and embarking on, to have go back to what I understand was a more frequent and regular reporting process with the Friends group. So we're moving in that direction. And hopefully in the next couple of months before the year end, we can do that. It's just, it hasn't been done in a long time. So we have to, you know, create a process and work closely with staff and the Friends.
I guess I'm unclear as why there would be a cap put on money that is donated or given as a gift. It would seem to me that it's money in, money out.
No, not necessarily. It emulates the budget process. So because there's been so much turnover in terms of CFOs at the library, the way this fund has been treated has varied from CFO to CFO, is my understanding. I came in November, and because of there is a cap here, there has been this glitch that we ran into. So at the time that the budget was in front of the commission for approval, there was like somehow 37,500 entered as a budget expenditure cap for this fund, and didn't turn into a problem until more was
We had
spent.
more than that.
Yeah, and so the financial system, since that figure was entered into the system, that's how you control spending. You can't just, every time you have money in, you have money out. There has to be financial controls. And so the financial system has this control in it. So it would be the same under sales tax or under property tax. So what was approved and whatever was approved is reflected in the financial system. And so we cannot overspend what was approved. And so therefore, the system will not allow us to spend additional funds. What we have to do here is go to the commission and request to increase that amount in order to continue to use these funds. So it is now part of also of our year-end close and year-end adjustments to do that.
So it's basically a checks and balance system.
That's right.
Okay.
So, you know, and with budgeting, it's always that, you know, the budget is a planning tool. So, you know, whenever there's a bequest, for example, bequests are not budgeted, and in any time there's a bequest made to the library, and if there's plans to spend it, I would go to the commission and request that authority to make those additional expenditures and increase our what technically is called appropriations authority. It would be the same thing here. So yes, checks and balances.
Well, I know I just wrote a check for the Roner Park Friends for the purchase of clips to go on the end of the shelving at the library. And it was a considerable amount, but since you're already over, they're going to have to sit on that, I guess, then till the commission approves more.
Well, this is a combination, like I said, of miscellaneous donations and friends, all friends groups. So I'm not sure right now how much is in each friends group. So this is, like I said, that had not been done in a long time. So that is the process that we need to embark on to understand, you know, where we are with our funds.
Okay. All right. So that then would be all of the financial reports for March that you have submitted to us. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So are there any questions then from us to Myrna on these financial reports before we move on?
I have a question.
Yes, Charlene?
And I have a very, it's a simple understanding of this, I'm sure oversimplified, but you mentioned at the beginning that when there is a budget surplus, it reverts to the funds balance. So are there two separate fund balance for the sales tax revenue?
Yes, yes. Normally those statements are in here. I just presented the reports that were requested. But I can show you in the next presentation those two statements under the budget process. But yes, the sales tax, that's why you see two separate sheets for property tax and sales tax. They are mutually exclusive. They need to be accounted separately, and each of them also you know, as you can see, the cash balance is also separate from the property tax, and so is there is a fund balance statement, which is the statement of activity that tracks the fund balance.
Okay, so the fund balance is kept separate for the
Yes.
Measure Y funds.
Yes.
So, but it's been growing, and it sounds like it's going to grow again this year.
Well, it has been growing both for under property tax and sales tax. And if if you go back to the mid-year review presentation, I showed the trend. So last fiscal year 20 and 19, fiscal year 20, really there, and 21, there were a spike in in property and in fund balance because of the pandemic. The library scaled back in library hours and in operations and in construction of our capital projects. And so but yet revenue maintained its consistency. It was very consistent. And so there was a large surplus. And
I understand that. So hopefully in future, maybe we'll get a report on a plan to spend down that fund.
yes, so in fiscal year 2022, if you go again back to the mid-year review report, there is a slide that shows a dip or a use of the fund balance in the current fiscal year. That was primarily driven by our capital projects. However, come year end, June 30th, 2022, because some of our capital projects have been delayed, those expenditures will not take place this year. So again, all of these things have an impact on our expenditures, and our revenues have an impact on the fund balance.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to take too much time from the committee, so thank you.
Normally, there's line item called the special departmental expenses, and that's used to be exclusively for programs that we paid for, but now other things are being lumped in there. So we'll need a detail of that, but probably, Janice, I think we can wait till the end of the year for it.
You're muted, Janet.
Sorry, my phone was ringing, so I muted myself. Yeah, I think we can handle that at the year end. And it was special. Tell me again which category that was.
It's special departmental expenses, and that's where when the library pays for programs at the branches, it goes through there. It used to be only for that, but now other things are being charged to that also.
Okay, so Myrna, if you made note of that, that's one we will need at the end of the fiscal year, a detailed accounting of the special departmental expenses.
Right.
Yes, I could give you, a report when we close. It would be best to do that when we close the month of June.
Yes.
So therefore.
Right. There's no need to do it now.
Oh, yeah. No,
yes, I understand year end, and then the month closes a few days after the June 30th, and then it's best to run the report at that time.
Yes, at the end of your fiscal year. Very good. All right, anything else before we move on to the committee report for the budget and allocation of major revenue? Like we're okay. I assume that is also Myrna.
Yes, I'll share my my screen, Jen.
Please.
And I'll give the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, Yvette has arrived.
Yes, I'm here. But
Good, I'm glad
I
you're
don't
with
have
us.
any questions. I was listening because I was driving, so I'm good.
Okay, so do you see the fiscal year 2023 overview?
No, we don't see it.
No, we're looking at each other at the moment.
Oh, let's see. I guess I need to figure out how to share my screen first.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Right.
We see
Yes.
your speaker notes too.
We see my speaker notes. Now I have to figure out how to change that.
You'll want to start the slideshow.
Oh, okay.
Click that button, and then you'll have the option to swap to
There we
presenter
go.
view.
Okay, yes.
There
Got it.
Now we're in presenter view. That's perfect.
Thank you. All right.
Oh, sorry. Nope. Now we're seeing your notes. Can you
Oh,
go to display
Okay, now I
settings?
gotta swap back. Is that better?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Yay. So I know I gave you a report on the fiscal year 2023, really to provide the Measure Y Oversight Committee information on how the budget was developed. In particular, because it is developed according to the allocation of the major revenue sources policy that was adopted earlier this calendar year by the commission. And fiscal year 2023 is the first time that the budget is developed with this under this policy. So I'll kick in. I want to be brief and to get to the allocation side, but wanted to still frame the budget. That the budget for the library was set with the reimagining plan in mind. And there are other elements that were incorporated in formulating the budget, and they include, again, the allocation of major revenue sources policy, the Measure Y sales tax ordinance and expenditure plan, the use of maintenance reserves for facilities and IT, the overhaul of the capital improvement program reserves, new Sunday hours at 11 new branches, and would be paid for 100% by Measure Y, and fiscal efficiencies that increase the level of services, recalibrate benefit costs, and reduces the operating deficit under the property tax fund. We always have to be monitoring external factors that can impact our budget and our operations, economic conditions, natural disasters, and ongoing COVID-19 variants. And we will continue to monitor the budget regularly for any necessary adjustments in response to these. The fiscal year 23 proposed budget, the key highlights are that it's $47.9 million. It includes 219.85 FTE. It's $2.1 million in new revenue and 10 new FTE to accommodate for Sunday hours. And the next slide are the components of the revenue and expenditures. Quickly under property tax, the total revenues are $23.9 million. The total sources, because we're tapping into the fund balance, because we created reserves as allowed under the fund balance policy. So the total sources, funding sources, is $25 million. Under the expenditure side, the expenditures are $26 million. And as you can see, because the expenditures are greater than the sources,
Going to have a negative balance.
we're using $1 million of the fund balance to balance the property tax fund. Under sales tax, the total revenues are $15.7 million. Total sources, again, because we're tapping into the fund balance we set aside funds as reserves to pay for maintenance and repair, capital and the capital improvement program. The total funding sources is $22 million. On the expenditure side, the total expenditures is $21 million. So there's a positive impact to the fund balance of $220,000. This shows expenditures by people, which are our employees, places, which are our branches, and our resources, which are services and supplies. Again, our total budget is $47 million. And Under people, our budget is 27.25 million. This represents an increase in salaries of 2.2 million from fiscal year 22. It accommodates the Sunday hours and also the cost of living adjustment. Under benefits, benefits were recalibrated. Under property tax, benefits are being underspent. So they were budgeted at a little bit of a higher than needed. So in the actuals, there is underspending under benefits. And so I recalibrated those costs, and there is a savings of $1.8 million across all divisions, and there is no change to benefits. The point is that in fiscal year 22, benefits were budgeted a little too high. Under resources, under places, let's see, oops, let's go back here. Under services, resources, we have $14 million. It does include an increase of 0.4 or about $400,000 for services and supplies to support Sunday hours. And under places, the total budget is $6.7 million. And that includes $4.7 million of capital projects that will roll over, or how we term rebudget into next fiscal year. And there is $1.8 million in new projects. This chart shows appropriation or expenditures by division as a percentage. The majority, or 86%, or over $41 million of resources are allocated to the branches for direct services to the community. Public services is 38% of the budget, collections is 13% of the budget, facilities is 23% of the budget, IT is 10%, and communications is 2%. Under administration, it is a total of 14% of all expenditures, with HR being 7%, executive services 4%, and budget and finance 3%. This chart shows the financing sources, and property tax is the greatest with 49% of all funding sources. Sales tax is 32% of all funding sources. And the use of reserves as allowed by the fund balance is 16%. And when you see a zero, it means it's less than 1%. So other sources like intergovernmental funds is less than 1%. Now we could get into the allocation of major revenue sources policy. Under the policy, the CFO calculates the ratio for service-oriented divisions, and all the expenditures under the service-oriented divisions are allocated in this way. So the ratio is calculated as a percentage of total tax revenue. So if you do go back to the detailed sheet that we looked at earlier, it's $39 million. And property tax rounded is 60% of that, and Measure Y is 40% of this. So these percentages are allocated to, or all the expenditures are allocated 40% to Measure Y. And that's except for Sunday hours. Sunday hours is 100% paid for by Measure Y.
And I'm assuming that as the year progresses, the percentage will not change, but the actual amount might, based on the income that or the revenue you've received. Is that correct?
We will not be adjusting by the amount of revenue received. This is based on the budget. So any surplus will revert into to the fund balance. So again, the budget is a plan. And this is, and we don't adjust our budget depending on, if we get more or more revenue, right? If you get less revenue, you must reserve, you should adjust your budget, because then, you're
You're going to come up short.
you're gonna cut them up short, right? But we do not normally adjust our budget just because we received more revenue. And we really don't know if we receive more revenue until we actually do, right? And that's at the year end. So this ratio will be locked in for the entire fiscal year.
Okay, so I'm assuming the reports then that we will see beginning in 2023 will reflect that breakdown.
That's correct.
So we'll know right where we are all the way through.
That's correct.
So the way I interpreted, Janice, is that, remember last year when we did that breakdown of in services and supplies, particularly where we had certain things that we were paying 90%, others paying 0%, it'll be a steady 40% all the way through services and supplies.
I know, because in the past, we've frequently seen all of it show up in the last quarter, and it was very hard to know where we were.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it also reflects this will, your expenditures. The plan is, as I mentioned when I presented the policy, is when an invoice comes in and the accounts payable person enters the payment into the financial system, she will allocate that $100 invoice. $60 will be paid for by property tax and $40 will be paid for by Measure Y. So it'll be at the time of payment.
So we won't get a large adjustment at the end of the year.
I don't expect that in the fiscal year 23. That is one of the major points of this policy, is to provide clarity and direction from the beginning.
I do have a quick question, because I thank you for making that adjustments, because in the past we had some difficulties with that. And so I know, I think you did mention last time that every fiscal you would take a look at the budget and make those adjustments. So for this year, 2020 going forward, that's what you're going to be doing every year, right?
Yes, so every year I will do this calculation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. So this is the summary of all of the ratios for the service-oriented divisions. They include public services, collections, communications, information technology, and facilities. And it includes salaries, benefits, services, and supplies. Under administrative divisions, this includes executive services, administrative services, and budget and finance are one. Human resources and fund development. Property tax will pick up 90% of the expenditures, and Measure Y will pick up 10%. For capital projects, the refresh projects, for example, property tax will pick up 10% and Measure Y will pick up 90% of those expenditures. And these are laid out in the policy. So to break it down on how this looks for Measure Y sales tax, you can see that under the service-oriented divisions, the split is 60-40. Under property tax and sales, 60% under property tax, 40% under sales tax. And there's a couple of exemptions, and that is the service-oriented division, which is public services, the Sunday hours and facilities is coded here under sales tax, 100% of those costs. Also under the administration division, workers' comp, the health reimbursement accounts and the OPEB are split 60-40 because of those costs support the entire workforce, and yet these are budgeted under the human resources budget because they're not allocated by division. These, like for example, workers' comp or OPEB, they need to be under someone's budget, which it makes sense to include them under HR. But these costs are allocated 60-40%. And this is a graph that shows that allocation, like graphs.
For us visual learners.
Yes. Here's and break it up a little bit. So another important component of the policy is the baseline. So the policy delineates fiscal year 2015-16 as the baseline year. And at that time, only property tax was being collected, and the budget at the expenditures at that time were 16.6%. And so it's compared to fiscal year 22-23, where now we're at $26 million under property tax, $21 million under sales tax, for a total of $47 million. And this includes those Sunday hours. Here's this is a snapshot of the statement of fund activity, which represents the fund balance. And so given you start off with the fund balance available for budgeting from the prior year, and then you add in your revenues for the fiscal year 22-23, the expenditures and the capital expenditures, and then you get a surplus or a deficit. However, with the use of, now we could draw on the reserves that were created. And so for a tune of, under property tax, $1 million, there's still a shortfall of $1 million. So there will still be a $7 million fund balance available for budgeting at the end of fiscal year 2023. And these are all estimates. These can change depending on revenues and expenditures. Under sales tax, I'm sorry, on my screen it looks like it was cut off. But again, it's the same formula. So there was a available balance from the previous year, the prior year, of $6.1 million. The revenues are 15.7 million. Expenditures are also 15.7 million, with capital 6 million. And again, with the use of our reserves of a total of 6.3 million, there is a positive impact on the fund balance of $220,000. So in summary, the budget accomplishments for next fiscal year are the addition of Sunday hours at 11 locations, made possible by 100% by Measure Y. This budget also reflects the implementation of the allocation of major revenue sources policy, and also fully implements the fund balance policy, creating this list of new reserves and updating the capital, or overhauling the capital improvement program reserves. And we also reduce the operations deficit under the property tax fund.
What is the difference between, could you go back between the IT resources replacement reserve and the IT capital replacement?
So the reserves are created under capitalized and non-capitalized assets.
Okay, that's good. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in closing, at the May 2nd regular commission meeting, we will be presenting responses to questions that staff said that they would, that remained open at the budget workshop, which took place on April 2nd. And on June 6th, there will be consideration of adopting or approving the final budget for next fiscal year. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Myrna before we move on? We don't want to let you just get away here.
Okay.
No, I'd just like to say that was very thorough and I appreciate it. So I actually don't have questions.
Thank you.
Well, I would just want to say I'm extremely excited about the potential for Sunday hours. And I just hope that our communities appreciate what they've been given and take advantage of those hours. And we need to make sure that we publicize it well to get the word out.
And also to say that it was financed by, made possible by Measure
Or
Y.
Measure Y, yes.
Yes, yes, that would be a real plus for us. It's been something we've been trying to see implemented for several years. Okay, if there are no further questions from.
I have a question or a
Oh, yes, Tim.
comment. When will we start or stop calling it Measure Y? Because when and if we do another measure, that name is going to be antique. So do we want to start thinking of a new name for it? Supplemental tax funds, sales tax funds,
Sales tax revenue.
sales tax revenue,
Tax
just
revenue, yeah.
because when it goes on a ballot again, it won't necessarily or probably be Measure Y.
Good point.
Just a thought.
It's a good thought because we're going to have it so totally ingrained in our brain as Measure Y that it's going to be hard to let it go.
Right. And we need to.
Yeah.
Well, what was the first one that didn't pass? Measure M.
Yeah, I've still got the paper for it, the yard sign.
Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, we'll move down to action items by motion. And we need to nominate and elect new officers for the fiscal year 22-23. I think this is my second year serving, and it's time for me to step down and to pass that on to someone else. We had put the word out ahead of time, and hadn't heard from anybody until last night. And fortunately, Judy Glenn reached out and indicated that she would be most happy to accept the chair position. So is there anyone else then that would like to be considered for that particular position? Okay. Do we need to, does this need to be then by a voice vote, a roll call vote?
I think so.
Yes, it does. We need to take a roll call vote.
Can we do both chair and vice chair together? And elect them as a slate?
I suppose you could if nobody objected to either of the nominations.
Okay. Yvette, I see that you are here, and Judy indicated that she would love to have you serve as her vice chair. Would you be willing to do that? Is she the,
Is Mike done?
or, well,
Yeah, I will go ahead and assist her in that capacity.
that would be wonderful. Mike is smiling. So I think both of us have served about 3 years here. And I think, as with so many committees, it's important that the leadership change so that no one becomes so totally entrenched in it that you think you have to die or leave town to get out. So I'm happy to turn the leadership over to the team of Judy and Yvette. So let's present that then as a slate, with Judy Glenn serving as our chair for 23, the next fiscal year, which would be 22-23, and Yvette Minor serving as her vice chair. So we'll do this by voice vote.
Janice, can I ask a question? This is John.
Yes, please.
Just from the standard rules of order, should we be making, it sounded like you were making a motion and then have a second and then go ahead and take the vote?
I think that's probably the correct procedure to do. So let me make the motion then that Judy Glenn serve as our chair and Yvette Minor as our vice chair. Is there a second?
I would second that. This is John.
Okay, so I saw Mike's hand and John's voice. So it has been moved and seconded. So now we'll call for the vote. Is that correct?
The vote on the motion, yes.
Oh, we have to vote on the motion?
I-
Not, okay.
The motion is their appointment, so if we vote yes, that's it.
All right, then let's do that. Starting with Tim May.
Yes,
Myself is yes. Judy is not here. Charlene Lux,
Yes,
Barbara Hughes,
Yes.
Yvette Minor,
Yes,
Mike Neely,
Yes,
and John Del Oso.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all then for your vote, and I will let Judy know via email that she has been unanimously elected to lead this committee.
I have a question.
Yes,
Our next meeting is by the end of July. And when is your retirement?
My retirement takes effect July 11th.
So this may be the last time we have the pleasure of thanking you for your years of your service to the library.
Thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate it.
thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. And it was quite a surprise to see your announcement. I had not anticipated that at all, and you will be very much missed.
Thank you very much.
While we're talking about that, what are the plans then for your replacement? Is that, are we doing another search out of, countrywide, or are we going in-house? Or doing
That's something that the commission will be discussing and deciding on very soon.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for the end of July. And I think we will leave, then Judy will be responsible for getting the ball rolling with that and selecting the time. It would be nice if we would be able to once again meet in person. It's been a long time. So maybe that is a possibility. But that again will have to be, is the library allowing meetings at the headquarters, small group meetings? And
Yes, we can do that.
okay, I will let her know. All right, there be no further business then. I think we are ready to adjourn. Can we adjourn then by acclamation?
so,
yes.
yes.
Okay, hearing no objection to that, then this meeting will adjourn. And thank you all for your service to our Sales Tax Revenue Committee.
Thank you.
Aye.
I just want to say you guys voted so fast on that last motion.
It's been 1 hour and I like to do meetings in 1 hour. That's my.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Bye.